Welcome to the number 9 series of the Chinese Takeout. When you order Chinese Takeout, everybody gets chop suey, right? You got to have chop suey. Vegetable dish. Traditionally, meat is in there as well, so we chose chicken, but you could easily do this with pork as well. Get a little bit of pork tenderloin is what I would choose instead of the chicken breast. Or you can do it completely vegetarian. What I would do for vegetarian, just obviously omit the meat altogether, go down to only 1 tablespoon of canola oil, which we'll talk about when we get there, and switch out the chicken broth for vegetable broth. And you got a completely vegetarian. I hope you guys enjoy this. This is gonna be great. Let's get started. We're gonna do the chicken together, the onion, the carrot, the celery, the mushrooms, and the bok choy together. Everything else should be portioned out already. What we'll do first, before we do our prep together, let's take that first step and create our sauce so we can just get it done, set it aside, and then we'll go for that from there, okay? So let's do that first. Let's take our soy sauce. So we have our 1 tablespoon of cornstarch, and we're gonna dissolve it in 2 tablespoons of soy sauce. The reason why we do just these 2 ingredients first, it's a lot easier to get that fully incorporated faster, that cornstarch, when there's just very little liquid in there. Now what we're gonna do is we're going to add the rest of our sauce ingredients into this measuring cup and set it aside. 2 tablespoons of oyster sauce. We're also going to add our sesame oil. The last ingredient of our sauce is that 3/4 cup of chicken broth. We're just gonna give that a good stir around, and this is going to be our sauce. And this is the last thing we're gonna put in the wok. And we're going to go on to the next step, which is getting some of our prep done. Always prep the onion last because you don't want all those onion juices on the board and you're cutting your carrots and you're crying, you're cutting your celery and you're crying because all those juices are on the board from the onion. You don't wanna do that. It's bad enough you gotta cry when you cut an onion, let alone crying when you have to cut everything else. So don't do that. Do the onion last, that way you don't have to worry about it. If there's raw meat involved, you do the raw meat last and the onion second to last. That way, when you're done with the board, you're not contaminating everything in your kitchen with raw meat. You just put the board in the dishwasher, put the board in the sink, get rid of the knife, you're done, right? We're gonna work from the bottom up and line everything up by the wok and get all our prep done. So the very bottom in the ingredient list is the 1 cup of bean sprouts. We need to do 2 cups of sliced baby bok choy. So let's do that together, shall we? And these measurements for the vegetables, they're not written in stone. If you want to do a little bit more, great. It's not a game changer. It's totally fine. You're not going to wreck anything. So there's 2 ways of doing this for slicing the baby bok choy. The first thing I want you to remember, though, and realize that a baby bok choy is 2 colors. You have this lovely white and you have this lovely dark green. When I say sliced, I don't want you slicing it this way and you have some bits that are all green and some bits that are all white. No, we want to capture both those colors in every single piece. So what I want you to do instead is slice them lengthwise. If I press it down, I have about 2.5 cups. Cremini mushrooms, they have more flavor than your regular white mushrooms. I'm all about the flavor. We like flavor, right? So we go for the creminis. They're actually baby portobello mushrooms. That chop suey is a celebration of vegetables. You want big, chunky vegetables in here. So let's do thick slices. And we're looking for a full cup. If you want to go a heaped full cup, you can do that. But let's get into these, okay? What I like best for the presentation is slicing them in the whole form. So just doing big chunks, big slices, like 1/4 inch thick. When you get to the end bit, just hold it on both sides so you're not cutting yourself. And that way you get these nice big chunks of vegetables. Then there's my 1 cup measure, nice and heaped. Now moving from the bottom up, you should have your ginger already prepped. Okay, so chopped ginger. I got a tablespoon of chopped ginger there. And 3 garlic cloves chopped I have done already. What you want to grab now is like a small to medium mixing bowl. And we're going to prep in that mixing bowl the carrot, the celery, and the onion. So 1 large celery stalk. On an angle, cut it really, really thin, okay? And it's gonna create these nice angular pieces that look really attractive in a stir fry, all right? So with a carrot, we're gonna do the same thing. Now, little something different with a carrot, I'll show you this. This rolls, unlike the celery, right? So this is a little bit dangerous. So if you're comfortable, just hold it steady while you're doing the thin slices on an angle. Or what you can do is you can cut it in half and then start doing your thin slices. And do a little thinner on the carrot than you did the celery because carrot is obviously more dense. And as you can see, I am prepping those two things into that bowl. We're gonna prep our onion next. I put an onion in the fridge when I know I'm gonna prep it because I don't wanna cry. No one likes to cry, right? Unless it's really worth it. Hot air rises, we all know that. Even warm air will rise faster than cold air. Cold air stays down low, warm air rises. So if you have your onions at room temperature, those fumes are gonna rise to your eyes a lot faster and you're gonna cry a lot more. By putting in the fridge for a couple hours ahead of time, cold fumes stay down below, less crying. It makes sense. It's just logics, right? If you forgot to put your onion in the fridge, you can pop it in the freezer for like 10 or 15 minutes. It's not going to freeze solid in that small amount of time. You're going to have the same effect. Here's what we want to do though. We want to prep thin sliced of a half of a medium onion, whatever you think is a medium onion, okay? Cut off the hairy bit, cut off the stem bit. Now you can set it nice and flat. I want you to cut it in half at this point. Put half aside and take your other half that you're going to use and take the peel off of it. It's all about presentation and making this onion look attractive. So we can continue making slices on the onion parallel to where we did these cuts. Okay, so just doing slices like this, and I'll show you what that looks like. Okay, I'll do one slice. Okay, you're still gonna make slices of the onion by slicing it that way, and you're gonna get like these half circles of onion, which are not bad, nothing wrong with that, but we can make it look a little bit better. So what I want you to do, instead of cutting it like this, turn it a quarter turn, and we're gonna work the curvature of the onion and just have slices this way. And I'll show you the difference. Do it thin. Okay, and I'll show you the difference side by side. When you get to this part though, when it's more vertical than horizontal, here's what you do. Tip it over so it stays more flat on the board and continue cutting it in the same direction. Here's our unattractive semicircles. We're not unattractive, just not as attractive. There's these pieces. Look at that. It just looks more attractive to the eye. Just, you have like sort of like crescent moons or whatever, right? It just looks better than that. And it's all about presentation. You don't need to break them all up and do that for every single one. That'll happen in the stir fry, but I just wanted to show you the difference, okay? We'll put them in there. Now, in this bowl, our onion, carrot, celery, we can put that along with our other prep. And the only thing we have left to prep now is a chicken. So if you don't want those onion fumes anymore, when you're cutting your chicken, this is the last thing we have to prep. Here's what you do. Take your board, flip it over, place it down. Onion fumes are now on the bottom. Just remember to wipe your counter afterwards because you're gonna have all the onion juices on there, okay? And your kid may lay a cookie down or a piece of cake, or not cake on the counter, but you know what I mean. It says 1 boneless, skinless chicken breast. I had a little bit extra, so I'm gonna do 1.5. Again, it's not a game changer, it's whatever you wanna do. We like a little bit more meat in there, so we're just gonna prep that. And here's what we're gonna do. We're just gonna slice this thin. When you're dealing with a whole chicken breast, what I want you to do is slice it lengthwise in half first, so it's not as big, and then opposite direction, just start making thin slices, okay? And just as thin as you can, 1/4 inch or less, just keep going until you have all your chicken done. And we're just gonna put that chicken back in that same little dish that we had. As long as we can keep it separate, that would be awesome. And we're gonna create these little bites of meat. Now my board is all slippery because I have all those onion juices. That's the only downside about flipping it over, is I got these onion juices on the other side and it slips sliding away. So what you can do, if that's bothering you, is get your damp towel and put that underneath, and that's gonna help keep it from sliding. I have these silicone grips on here, but because I got them wet with onion juices, they're not really sticking very well anymore. Again, I'm keeping my clean hand clean, my dirty hand dirty, and we're just gonna keep prepping that nice and thin. And that's gonna create these nice little meat bits all the way throughout. And you want the meat to cook in a very short amount of time as well. That's why we're doing that thin, as well as all the vegetables. There we go. Let me take all that chicken, put it aside here. There we go. The next thing on our list going up is our 2 tablespoons of canola oil divided. We're dividing up into 1 tablespoon and 1 tablespoon. But it doesn't matter if it's canola oil, it could be grapeseed oil, vegetable oil. We just want a higher heat oil because we're gonna be doing hot cooking in the wok, okay? Don't use an olive oil, for example, or an extra virgin olive oil or virgin olive oil. It's too low of a smoke point, is gonna burn. Higher smoke point is better. So you guys ready to fire this thing up? Let's do it. Before you fire up your wok, I wanna make sure you have everything ready to go. Get a pair of tongs to, take the chicken out of the container. That would be a great thing to have on hand. Otherwise, have some utensils for your wok like this. You're also gonna wanna have a platter or some kind of serving dish that you're going to want to put everything into. The recipe makes about 4 cups total. Let's preheat your wok. Medium high to high heat. We're doing 1 of those tablespoons of oil. And we're going to add the chicken, but don't stir the chicken. Don't stir it. I'll tell you why in a sec. Okay, so we're going to take the chicken and put it in there. So look at, I put the chicken in there. See that? But I'm not stirring it. I'm not stirring it, not right now. Here's the biggest mistake people make when cooking meat in a pan. Right away, they add it and they get in there like a mad person. They start stirring it around. Don't do that. That meat is cold, and what you're going to do is you're going to spread the cold temperature for that meat all over the pan. You're going to cool down the temperature of the pan. You want that meat in there. You want to start getting it brown. You want to start creating crust. If you stir it all around and that cold meat reduces the temperature of your pan, what's more likely going to happen is that meat is just going to start extracting juices, and it's going to start boiling in its old juices. It's going to basically be boiled meat. You don't want to do that. You want to create some brownness to it. So add the meat to the oil in the pan. Let it sit there for 30 seconds or so until it sort of gets to warm up a little bit. And then you can move it around a little bit, okay, just to spread it around a bit, but not very much, just a little bit to get it sort of smoothed out. Let me show you. Okay, so I smoothed it out a little bit, but just let it sit there. Let it get some browning to it. Don't play with your meat all the time. You know, you don't want to do that. This is the best way to do it. Even if you're cooking on a grill, the worst thing you can do is have your hot grill, okay, even you oil it, you put the meat there and you start playing it, flipping it back and forth. And leave it alone, man. Stop playing with your meat. You don't want to do that. Put it on there, and as it creates that crust, leave it alone. It's going to create a crust. It's going to lift and separate from the grill, allowing you to flip it over. And you're going to have some nice grill marks on there. That's the best way to do it. Then after it's sitting there for a little bit, then you can go in there and stir it a bit more. And you'll find that it's starting to brown. Let me show you this. And browning is flavor. It's just starting to brown a little bit, right? Let it sit there now for a little bit. And the more you just resist, the better your dish is going to be. You're going to create more flavor. Stir it a little bit more now. Having the heat of the pan not be dispersed, you're going to have evaporation of the chicken juices that are coming out and eliminating the water content. Now, we're not looking for the chicken to be cooked all the way through, just so it starts to brown a little bit, because remember, we're keeping the chicken in there the whole time. So it will get cooked through the making of this dish. We need to move on to the next step. Just approximately 2 minutes until your chicken is just starting to turn brown. We're gonna add that 2nd tablespoon of oil, okay? Add the carrot, celery, and onion. We're adding that first. That tempers the temperature of the wok a little bit more before adding our ginger and specifically our garlic. We don't want our garlic to burn. So we put that in there. And now we can stir all that together, and we're looking for about a 2-minute temperature, but our visual is to be looking for soft onions, okay? But wow, let me show you this. Let me show you how attractive this looks already. Look at that, with those nice cuts. You got the green and the orange happening there, little bits of brown chicken. Already you can tell how fantastic this is going to be at the dinner table. Now we're sauteing this. If you want to stir it around a bit, great. 2-minute cook time approximately, just until the onions are soft. And now we're going to continue with the recipe. I'm going to stir this one more time. All right, let's add our mushrooms now, folks. Mushrooms, big slices, big chunks of our cremini mushrooms. And stir them in there, get some heat on there. Okay, and I'll show you what that looks like. We're looking for 1 to 2 minutes. Again, we're just looking for some soft textures of the mushroom. See that? See how attractive that looks with those big chunks of mushrooms in there? So keep sauteing it. You can stir it around. Give that 1 to 2 minutes to get those mushrooms a little bit soft. Let me show you what's happening here in my wok. Wok's happening. Look at that. Time for my bok choy. We're looking for just a minute on the bok choy. Just put all that bok choy in there. Give it a good stir. So again, we get some heat on that. And already you can notice some great colors happening in here now with that dark green and the white now. Wow. Let me show you up close. It looks fantastic. Look at this. I love it. So not long. It just needs about a minute. Okay, some of those thicker parts of the bok choy are going to be nice and crisp, and that's okay. We just don't want the green parts to be wilted away to nothing. Next step, bean sprouts. Stir them in. They don't need a cooking process. Just stir them in. Just let them warm up from the heat of the dish. That's it. That's all you got to do. And now we're pushing up the sides of the wok. Try and get them up the sides of the wok. Get your vegetables safe to safe ground while we put in the sauce in the center. Let me show you my wok here, what I have going on. Obviously, you're going to lose a few of them in the center, but look at this. Okay, that's what we're looking for. And we're taking our sauce. That cornstarch gets settled down the bottom, so just give it a good whisk. And pour it in there. Pour it in the center. And we want to bring that to a full boil. Get your spatula out and make sure you get every drop of that sauce. And wait for it to come to a boil. Watch, I'll show you this. Look at this. See that sauce? So the vegetables are mostly safe up the sides. They're not having that direct heat. And more importantly, they're not submerged in that liquid. We're not looking to boil our vegetables, folks. They're already cooked. And we're just waiting for that sauce to come to a full boil all the way through. And what you can do to help it along is just take that sauce and sort of stir it. And you'll find that on the edges of the sauce is coming to a boil faster because there's less volume there than in the center. There's the most volume. So if you just stir that sauce a little bit and you can get it to come to a full boil a little faster, just try and make sure that your vegetables don't fall into that sauce very much, okay? We're getting there. See, it's almost at a full boil. And as soon as that's at a full boil, then we can bring everything together, push all our vegetables in, get them thoroughly coated, and we're going to plate it. So I'm going to get my dish here that I'm plating it with, and I'm just coming to a full boil now. So I'm just going to stir the whole works in. Once you're stirring it all in, turn off the heat. You're done. And now you got to get it out of your hot wok. Because if you keep it in there too long, what's going to happen? You're going to keep cooking it even more, and you don't want to overcook those vegetables. Look at this, folks. Here it is. Here's my Chicken Chop Suey. And wow.
Another hitter out of the park.
Awesome. If you like things a little bit on the more salty edge, you could add a little bit splash of soy sauce. You could do a little dusting of sea salt or kosher salt on top of there to have a nice natural salt flavor to it. If you wanted a little bit more seasoned, that's totally up to you. I don't know how salty your chicken broth was, so on and so forth, right? But that's totally up to you. But the presentation of that is fantastic. You get the white and the green. And normally, you guys know how much of a stickler I am for garnish, and we didn't garnish this. You know why? Because look at that presentation. You don't need any garnish. When you got the nice orange, you got the brown, you got the white, you got the dark green. I mean, it's a dish in itself. And if you plate that in the center of a bunch of rice, man, it doesn't need anything else. It really doesn't. And rarely will I say that, but I'm saying that tonight. The reason for me doing this is to really pass on the knowledge, the years of expertise that I have accumulated and share it with you and make you guys better home chefs. For the rest of your lives, you're going to have a kitchen. The rest of your lives, you're going to eat food. You might as well make an effort to make it good because it's not going anywhere. And there you have it. Chicken Chop Suey from the Chef Dad Zoom classes, Chinese food takeout series. And we'll see you next time, folks.